Hey everybody, sorry for the late post, but we're back in my school and I'm super excited about that. And it's first week of school, so my brain's just everywhere. But for my research project, I've been studying the conflict between the Puritans and the Quakers in Massachusetts Bay between 1656 and 1661. When I first started researching the topic, to be honest, I was really lost. My focus is usually in ancient history, but I chose this to showcase that I can do it. The story seemed pretty simple. The Puritans came to America seeking religious freedom, and then they turned to be persecuted by the Quakers and the beliefs. But then again, the more I researched it, I found out the explanation that was too simple. The argument is not that just solely the Puritans were justified in persecuting the Quakers. Instead, I'm trying to understand why the Puritan leaders believed persecution was necessary, and why the Quakers continued challenging them even if the punishments became more severe. So two sides, why did one side think that they were just? And to be honest, why did one side didn't cave? Why did they just keep standing against the brick wall? Why did they keep standing up for their beliefs even though it was costing their lives? Um, so Michael's research on the Puritanism helped me understand the Puritan side of this conflict. Massachusetts Bay was not created to be a society where every person could practice whatever religion they wanted. The Puritans believed that they were creating a covenant community based on Scripture. Because of that, religious unity and civil order were very closely connected. You can actually see them thinking about the primary sources. Puritan minister John You can actually start seeing them thinking about that in the primary sources, is what I'm saying. Puritan minister John Norman defended Massachusetts and argued that Quaker teachings threatened biblical truth, church unity, and civil sanity. From that perspective, the Quakers were not simply another domination asking to worship differently. The Puritan leaders believed that they were threatening the religious foundation of their whole society. So that answers one of the questions. But the Quakers obviously saw something different. So Isaac Pennington directly challenges Massachusetts laws against the Quakers. He argued that Christianity could even be protected through the force. He argued that Christianity could not be protected through force, and people had an obligation to follow God even when civil authorities disagreed. Andrew Wiseman's research on Elizabeth Houghton really changed how I personally looked at this part of the story. It is easy to describe the Quakers simply as victims and the Puritans as the attackers. They certainly were the victims, but that doesn't mean they were passive. Quakers challenged ministries and government officials, appealed against laws, continued preaching, and sometimes deliberately returned after they had been banished. That created a cycle. The Quakers challenged Puritan authority. Massachusetts increased the punishments. The Quakers continued resisting. Massachusetts responded with an even harsher law. It just keeps continuing. Eventually, Massachusetts moved from imprisonment to banishment to killing. Dreyer was executed in 1660, and that started a whole new cycle. William Leder was executed in 1661 and became the last Quaker executed by Massachusetts. In Carla's presentation, in her presentation and her research, she helped me better understand why these executions were so important to the large argument. She warns against turning the history into a simple story of intolerant Puritans versus Quakers fighting. Both groups understood the conflict through their own religious worldview. Puritans believed that they were protecting Christian society, and Quakers believed that they were suffering, demonstrating God's obedience. So this raises a much higher question about religious liberty, and one I'm going to be talking about in my paper. In fact, I had to rewrite some stuff to incorporate this. What happens when a government believes religious conformity is necessary for society, but an individual believes obedience to God requires resisting that government? We have a huge conflict, and that's what I'm writing about it. Thank you guys for your time, and I hope you have a great day.